Are you ready for another Betfair tennis trading strategy video? I hope you are, because in this one, we're going to be looking at the tennis trading domination strategy. This is going to be a very, very good video. Very, very useful for anyone who wants to trade tennis profitably on Betfair. In this video coming up, I'm going to show you the tennis domination strategy step by step. You might know the football trading domination strategy. It's pretty similar to that, but you're going to learn this in full detail. I'm going to show you how, and most importantly, when to use it. That is the real big key to this method. I'm obviously going to give you some really important tips that will help you with it. And we're going to show you some real life demonstrations of this strategy recorded on Betfair. I'm going to show you some winning examples. I'm going to show you some losing examples. I'm going to try and give you as much detail as possible. So I hope you're ready. Let's get into it. So as mentioned, if you saw the football domination strategy on this channel, then it's a pretty similar method. It's just a tennis version of it. If you haven't seen that video, definitely go check that out as well if you like your football trading. But with the tennis domination strategy, basically we're going to back a favorite that we expect to score a break point, and then we profit if they score that break point. So we're going to back a favorite while they are dominant. And if their domination pays off, they're going to score the first break point, and then we can profit. Obviously, if it doesn't work out, we're going to exit for a loss if they concede a break point. And we're also going to exit if they lose momentum, which shouldn't be a pretty big loss. Pretty much, if they concede a break point, that is our worst case scenario. But if you're backing a player while they are dominant, then that should be a pretty rare scenario, because that is the idea with this strategy. We're going to look for a favorite that is dominating the match, and we're going to back them. And in most cases, we've got to expect them to score the first break point. But if we can be disciplined enough to exit when they start to become less dominant, then we're going to hopefully avoid that scenario of them conceding a break point. So let me give you some quick tips on when we would use the tennis domination strategy. So firstly, I would say that men's matches are preferred just for the simple reason that men concede fewer break points than women. On average, men concede break points 20% of the time. So we're basically backing a player when they are dominant. And our worst case scenario is that they concede a break point. So, I mean, it's already, the odds are already on our side when you consider that on average, they concede break points 20% of the time. And if we're backing a dominant player, then we can bring that average down somewhat. And honestly, if you're picking the right situations with this method, you really shouldn't be caught out more than 1 in 10 times. Obviously, if you are caught out with the player you've backed conceding a break point frequently, then you really need to look at the opportunities you are picking out. That is definitely for sure. And also, we're looking for a player that is serving well. This is of utmost importance because obviously, look, we don't want the player that we're backing to concede a break point. So once we've backed them, I mean, we want to see that they're serving well. And while they are serving well and looking pretty dominant, they're less likely to concede that break point and much likely to score the break point. And to do this, you're going to need to use your match reading skills. And you know, as I said, if they're serving well, it's going to lower the chance that they concede a break point, and that's going to lower our chance of having a losing trade, and it's going to increase our chances of getting a winning trade because while they're serving well, they're not going to concede a break point, and eventually their domination should pay off and they'll score a break point when the other player is serving. And as mentioned, with this method, we're generally going to be backing a favorite, but we need to probably be backing a favorite that is priced 1.30 and above. Now, I know a lot of people who do use this strategy, even on the really low priced favorites. I mean, the lower you go, the more success you're going to have. But I would definitely say, look, you need to look for prices 1.30 and above, because then you can gain the most ticks per successful trade. I mean, if you can back a player around 1.50, 1.60, you're going to gain a lot more ticks when you get the winning trade. So, you know, as I touched upon, the lower the odds, the higher the success rate. But you have to keep in mind, the bigger the loss if it goes wrong. I see a lot of traders wanting to use this strategy on players such as Federer, who might be 1.10 starting price. And then, if they get the first break point, they might have gained 5 ticks, and you're going to have a very high success rate. That is very true. But the one time you get it wrong and Federer concedes a break point, then you're going to be looking at a much bigger loss, which could potentially wipe out all the wins. So if you are going to back players below 1.30, you have to be extra careful and be really, really sure that they are absolutely dominating. Which leads me on to this. I would say always have a good reason to enter. I mean, this pretty much applies to any sort of trade that you're going to open on the betting exchanges. But definitely when you're using a domination sort of strategy, you need to have a good reason to enter. Don't just feel like, I think that favorite is looking good. I'm just going to back them. Have a really good reason to enter, really making sure that they are dominant, because this sort of strategy is never gonna work blindly. And my advice would be to see that the favorite has served at least one game. You watch them serve one game, see how they're playing, and then back them. I mean, if they look good in that one game, that can usually be enough. If they didn't look too good, then wait. I mean, sometimes favorites start a little bit slowly, and then suddenly in the second game they start serving really well and they look really dominant, and you can see the underdog is struggling to stay in the match, and that is the time to get involved. But we really want to look for a favorite serving really well, and I'm talking serving so good that he's not even dropping a point on his serve. So he's literally scoring aces. He's going all the way to 40, winning the game from 40 love, maybe even 40-15. No one's ever perfect. But you want to see them not dropping many points on their serve. And you will see this. You will see this from time to time. So just look out for that. And then when that player is really dominant, back them and open this strategy. So I'm going to get into the actual strategy itself. And I'm going to teach it to you step by step. But before I do that, I definitely want to suggest you make sure you download this odds prediction formula. The link to this is in the description. And you're going to need this if you're going to use this sort of strategy, because you want to know where the price is going to be when you back that player. So if you are going to back that player and they score a break point, you want to know how many ticks you can potentially win, and also how many ticks you could potentially lose if it goes wrong. So you can use the odds prediction formula to kind of weigh up your risk versus reward. Obviously, when you do lose, you're going to lose more than you do win with this sort of method. But you should really have a very high strike rate with it if you are picking the right opportunities. But let me get into the method itself. So basically, we've got a situation in play in a tennis match where we're expecting the favorite to score the first break point. And as mentioned, he's serving well. He's not even dropping a point on serve. And if you're a beginner, probably look for that. Look for a player that hasn't even conceded a point in his service game. And that is a pretty good sign that they are dominant. And then you could back that player, and then you could kind of watch how the match develops from there. But basically, you've got a good idea that the favorite is going to score the first break point for whatever reason. I know some guys, they're pretty good at their pre-match research when it comes to tennis, but I would say watch the first service game and just see a favorite that is clearly playing better than an underdog. Then as soon as you're ready, you need to back the favorite before they receive serve. See, that is very, very important. We don't want to back the favorite when they are serving, because they can concede a break point and it could be a pretty pointless trade at that point. So we want to wait until that favorite has finished serving before we enter the market. So try not to enter the market backing a player before they serve, because of the reasons just mentioned. So we want to back that player once they're starting to receive serve, and in some cases they might score the break point straight away, but otherwise we might have to stick with it for a few games and see what develops. But your first entry point should never be when the favorite is about to serve. It should always be when they're about to receive the serve. And so once you've backed that player, backed the favorite, and they scored a break point, you're pretty much then going to lay the favorite with the same stake and let it ride. Now, I can imagine a lot of newbies are just going to press that cash out button and equalize the profits, but it's not really necessary. You're better off just laying the favorite with the same stake, because you're going to have a bigger profit sitting on the favorite at that point. And then from there, you may as well let it ride, because in a lot of situations, that favorite is going to go on and win the match without any sweat. So you're better off doing that, and then possibly cashing out at the end of the set when you could have gained a few more ticks. That's totally up to you. It probably depends on your time, the time you have, because some people want to do this sort of strategy and then move on and get on with their day and not watch the rest of the match. That's totally fine. You could just equalize the profits at that point. But this could be one time when you definitely want to cash out, is that you could cash out for an equal profit if the underdog then breaks back and then levels the game in the first set, because from there, anything could happen, and you probably just want to cash out for an equal profit, while you can cash out for a pretty decent profit. But otherwise, you're better off just laying the favorite with the same stake and then letting it ride till the end of the set or at the end of the match. It's totally up to you. So what we need to keep in mind, once we've entered the market, if the underdog wins their service game, which is going to happen, you've got to keep that in mind as well. We're going to keep the trade open. We're not going to exit out of the market and then try and get back in. It's not really conducive to a profitable trade. We need to stay in the market, but we're going to keep the trade open. But from this point, this is where we have to watch the favorite very closely. And we've obviously entered the market because the favorite was serving very well. They were serving good. And that was why we got involved in the market. And we just want to keep an eye on how they're serving. And we want to see that they're still serving good, and we want to see that they're still dominating the match. And like I said, if they're not dropping a point on their service game, which you'll see with a lot of the strong servers, then that's enough to stay in. I mean, if they drop 1 point, it's whatever. But if they start to drop 2 points, or if it goes, love 15, love 30, or if they give away a break point chance, that is your time to get out of the match, because they are not serving well. A player who gives away a breakpoint chance is not serving well. That is definitely for sure. So at that point, get out of the market. Get out of the market while you still can, because with this strategy, you only want to be involved when the favorite is playing well. And there's going to be plenty of matches where this happens. And as mentioned, I mean, if they're dropping points and they're going love 30 down, they're giving away breakpoint chances, then they're not serving well. This is not a good opportunity to use this strategy. Get out, take the small loss while you can before it gets worse, and then wait and use this strategy on another match, because there's going to be plenty of matches where you see a player dominating, you back them, they score a break point, and you got your profit. You're just in and out. If it starts to get hard, then this is not the time to use this strategy. And then from this point, you're pretty much just going to stay in the market while the favorite that you've backed is playing well, but you want to exit totally if it ever goes to a tie break. Tie breaks can start to get pretty random. They're almost like a penalty shootout in football, and you don't really want to be in the market with this sort of method when a tie break starts to happen, because that market can just move against you wildly. So you're staying in the market whilst the favorite is playing well until they score that break point, or until you see the reasons mentioned in the previous slide, or if it goes to a tie break. So that is pretty much it. But keep in mind, this strategy is mainly for the first set. As mentioned, watching the performance of the favorite once we've backed them is crucial. And if we see any sort of reason to kind of get out, then we've got to take it. We only want to back really dominant players and keep backing them while they are dominant. Tennis matches can just turn in an instant, so just keep watching that. And like I said, it doesn't really have to come down to a matter of opinion too much. Just look at the points that they're conceding. If the server goes love 15 down, love 30, any sort of scoreline like that, then they're not serving well. So just get out. just pretty much get out of it. And I just want to say as well, you could use this same strategy backing the underdog if they are, in a rare occasion, outplaying the favorite and serving very well. I mean, those are the really great opportunities. They don't come up too much. That's why I'd say this is definitely for the more advanced tennis trader. But you could feasibly use the same strategy backing the underdog if you do see that scenario come up. But I think it's time to get into some live trading examples with this strategy so you can see it with your own very eyes. So we've seen both guys serving in this match, and Sugita the Japanese, is looking the much better. He's serving very, very solidly and is looking like the dominant guy. So we just backed him, and that is the essence of the method. While he's still dominant, we'll keep our back bet open on him. Hopefully he can just score a break point and make this a pretty stress-free trade. It doesn't always go like that, but we are involved in the market. So I'll give you an update as soon as something else happens. And straight away, Sugita is troubling Herbert on his serve. He's got 2 break points, and as you can see there, Herbert isn't really serving too well. So we're going to try and see if we can get the break point very, very quickly in this one. That would be very, very nice. And there you have it. So quick early break. You know, we established that Sugita was the dominant player. So we backed him, and what did I back him at? 1.82. He scored the break point right away, as you saw, and we just laid him at 1.36. So now you can see if we wanted to cash out, it's a £33.70 profit, but we don't have to cash out right away. The green amount on Sugita is £46.51. We're only going to cash out now and equalize this profit if Sugita concedes a break point. Now, a lot of the time from here, Sugita just goes on and wins the match, and this isn't even an issue. So you're better off just holding this until Sugita concedes a break point, and then if he does, then you just even it out and cash it out. But it's a no risk it's a no risk shot at trying to make more profit and trying to raise those profits. But anyway, there's just a quick example of how you would use the domination strategy. As you saw there, Sugita served really, really well. Herbert was struggling on his serve. We backed Sugita after seeing him serve twice, and then he scored the break point in pretty much the first game. So then we're in the profit. Pretty simple. Let's take another look at another example. So just going to back Marin Cilic here. He's been pretty dominant. He's just won 2 games on his serve. He's playing against Nick Kyrgios. So he is the dominant guy. So we're just going to back him right now at 1.80. We're going to use £100 stake. Keep in mind, we're not risking the whole £100, obviously. So we've backed him, and he's been dominant so far. So we're going to see if he can break Kyrgios here. If he doesn't, we're going to see how he serves, and if he keeps serving good, then we keep backing him. If he stops serving good, then we're just going to get out and look for a better opportunity. So let's see what happens. It's Marin Cilic leading 2-1 at this moment. We just backed him at 1.80. So we've stuck with this one for a while, and it's getting very close to now being a tiebreak. This is the final service game of the set. If it goes to 6-6, there's going to be a tiebreak, and then we're definitely going to get out. Cilic has been very, very dominant. Well, let's just bring up the chart. It hasn't really. I mean, remember, we backed him at 1.80 around here at this point. And bar a small little fluctuation, it went as high as 1.90, but you can see it's been pretty much downward movement, which shows how dominant he's been. And that is the essence of a strategy like this, is that you're just backing him while he's dominant. And on a normal day, he probably would have scored a break point a little bit earlier. Kyrgios has had to hang on a few times, but we're just going to stick with it. We've got one more service game from Kyrgios. Hopefully Cilic can make the break here. Otherwise, we're going to have to scratch this trade out. But already you can kind of see how low risk it is when you're really, if you're watching the match closely and you're watching the charts and you're just sticking with the player while they're dominant, then there isn't really much risk against you. But let's see how Kyrgios serves. If we can get the break here, either way, we're out at the end of this game. So that is it. It is a tie break. It's going to go to a tie break. So we just scratch it out. It's gone 6-6. So as you can see, I mean, we didn't win the trade, but I mean, we still made a tiny profit of a few pounds. But it just goes to show how low risk the method can be when you're very, very careful. We do get out when it is a tie break, because in tie breaks, anything can start to happen. So we just protect the stake. But you could kind of see there, it was very, very low risk. I mean, we didn't really have much threat to our trade. It was a very good opportunity, but in this instance we didn't get the break we needed, so we didn't get to make the profit that we wanted. But I mean, we didn't win the trade, but we didn't lose any money as well. So it kind of shows you how powerful this strategy can be when you are selecting the right players, selecting the dominant players. And Cilic was so dominant all the way through that set. He's probably going to win the tie break, but we don't want to gamble on that. So as you can see here, we've backed Soric at 1.50. It's currently 15-all. Just had a bit of trouble starting the video this one. But we back Soric. He is the favourite. He's looking pretty dominant at the moment. He's just scored a point on Seppi's serve. So we're going to try and see if Soric can get the first break point. And obviously, if anything goes wrong, he starts to lose momentum, then we can get out. Or if he doesn't serve so well on this next service game. But let's see what happens next. So here we are. It is now just gone 4-4. Soric is still serving really, really well. And you can kind of get the impression that a player is dominant when you think we back Soric at 1.47 and his price is moving in despite him not having broken yet. So his price has currently gone into 1.41. He really is serving that well. And on the last time Seppi served, Soric actually had 3 break points. And to be honest, on another day, if I wasn't doing this video demo, I would have just taken the profit when he had the 3 break point chance, because that is pretty much the price we're looking for when he does breaks. But obviously, I'm trying to stick to the video demonstration on this one. So here we go. Here we are again. Seppi is just about to serve. Hopefully, Soric can break him on this service game. And here we are. It is 5-5, as you can see. So Seppi is now serving, and I think Soric has just scored a point. But this is going to be the final game where we're trying to look for the break, because after this, it's going to go, if Seppi wins, it goes 6-5. And after that, the best thing is only a tie break. So we're going to exit at the end of this game no matter what. Hopefully now we can get the break. And there you have it. Finally, Soric has scored the break point, and he's just gone 6-5 up. It was a long slog. It was a long slog. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're just going to minimize that, and I'm going to lay Soric with the same stake. We used a £100 stake on this. And of course, I should point out, remember, we used a £100 stake, but £100 was never going to be risked at all. If I just show you the chart, you can see how low risk it was. I mean, we got in, I think that happened just after it. It was a little bit shaky at 1 point, but he was never really in doubt, Soric, and he did almost score the break points earlier on. Eventually, he did get there, so we're just gonna let it run. We got £33 of green sitting on Soric. Hopefully, he'll close out the set in the next match, in the next game, and then we could just be done with this trade. But you can see it sometimes it can be a bit of a slog. We did get involved, I think it was game 2 or game 3, and Soric was there and it was there, but we didn't see any reason to get out of the market, and that is the important thing. So as long as your guy is serving strong and looking dominant, then just stay in and stay all the way in until a potential tie break is there, and then you have to get out. And you kind of saw just before the start of that game that if the tie break did occur, we were probably going to look at a scratch trade at worst. So again, looking at that chart, as you just saw, it kind of shows you how low risk it was when you really pick the right players to back. And it is just picking the dominant players and having the discipline to get out when your guy is not so dominant. So let's have another look at another example anyway. So just getting involved with this one, it's Zverev, who served really well in his first service game, but pretty dominant. Kukushkin looks a little bit nervous. He's just, I think that's a double fault there. Yeah, double fault. So he's dropping points already. And yeah, we feel like we can get a winning trade on this one. So let's see what happens. We backed him at 1.51. Let's see if we can get the winner on this one. Okay, so this is not looking so good now. Yeah, it's just gone 15-30. Kukushkin has just scored another point on Zverev's serve. So this is when we would get out. This is when we just immediately get out. So this is when you will take a loss, and you're better off taking the loss now than letting it get any worse. Because if it goes to 15-40 or Kukushkin scores a break point, you're looking at a much bigger loss. So this is what you do. You're just going to look for the warning signs that Zverev isn't serving so well, and then you just get out. So we've had to take a loss here. So that just about wraps up the live trading examples of the tennis domination strategy, but I've still got a lot more tips and hints to give you with this one, so don't go anywhere just yet. But one thing I would say, if you're going to use this strategy and you really want to profit long term, you're going to need that. You are going to need discipline. I think it's very easy to get involved with a strategy like this and then stay in the market despite all the warning signs telling you to get out. I think a lot of newbies can have that problem initially. I mean, the strategy can look easy, and I think that maybe those live demonstrations might make it look easier than it really is. But one thing you should always keep in mind is that break points in tennis, they're not just scored out of the blue. Now, when you have a football match, I mean, a player might have the ball on the halfway line and then score from the halfway line. A goal literally can come out of the blue. But with tennis, break points don't come out of the blue. You've got enough warning. And the second a server drops a point, that is already one warning sign there. If they go love 30 down, it's an even bigger warning. If it goes to love 40, then it's like the alarm bells should be ringing. So you've always got enough chance to get out of the market and to see signs that the favorite is not serving the way you want them to be. And like I said, we're looking for players that are serving so good that they're not even dropping 1 point. I mean, I did say you could let it ride if they do drop a single point, but if they drop any more than 1 point in their service game, this is not the type of favorite we want to be backing. You're better off waiting for an opportunity and just waiting for that player who is just serving so well that the underdog just can't keep up with him. He can't keep up. He can't even score a point when the favorite is serving. And that's the favorite that you want to be backing. So like I said, if you want to profit long term, you need to have the discipline and also the good eye for the opportunity. But then also, I mean, following on from that, you're definitely going to need patience. I mean, like I said, we are looking for a favorite that is serving really, really well. And it's not going to happen in every match. You're not just going to turn on a match and say, there you go. There's the time to get in. You know, there could be plenty of matches in a row where you never spot an opportunity like this, but keep it in your mind. Just keep it in your mind when you're watching a men's match, preferably. It could happen in a women's match as well. There are times when this can happen. But just be watching the game and then watch for a player when they are serving really well. Back them while they're serving really well. Look out for warning signs that maybe their performance is dropping. And when it looks like their performance is dropping, then exit. And there are other strategies. There are lots of other strategies to be using in tennis trading. This is not going to be your main single strategy, but it is a very good one. Just look out for these opportunities. Have a good eye for this opportunity, as said there. And have patience. Don't try and rush in and use this on any match that is just in play on the tennis market. So it won't work like that. But anyway, I want you guys to definitely leave a comment. Is this strategy something you think you're going to use often? Is it a strategy you've used before? I mean, I know a lot of you guys do trade tennis. Is this something that you've used? Have you used something along these lines, just backing a player when they look really dominant? And also, I mean, hey, I'm always open to new ideas. Is there any way you can think to improve this method? Anything else we could look for? Maybe another exit strategy or anything like that. Any ideas you've got, it's always great to share these ideas in the comment section and allow others and ourselves to learn. I mean, no one is perfect when it comes to sports trading. Of course, I do want to stress as well in the description, grab this, the odds prediction formula. If you're going to use this strategy in particular, you're going to need to learn that. Learn that formula. It's a free download. Download it. You can print it out. Follow the formula for the first few tennis matches that you want to trade. Eventually, you're going to know it off by heart, and you won't even need the PDF anymore. But it's definitely very, very important. It's definitely very helpful when you're using a strategy like this. You're going to know exactly where the odds will be when that breakpoint is scored. So you're going to know how many ticks you can potentially win. So definitely grab that. Link is in the description, as it says. But anyway, I just want to thank you for watching. If you do like sports trading, Betfair trading, football trading, tennis trading, anything like that, then make sure you hit that S and become a subscriber. New videos uploaded all the time. Hit the notification bell so you're the first to check those videos out. And of course, keep on watching. There's plenty of other videos on the channel for you guys to check out, as you can see. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.